Cool. So thanks for making the time. It's great to have you on the book club as always. Lots
Thank
of
you.
people wanted the book, and I saw lots of people requesting to download the book, right, Namrata? Yeah, so it's quite a lot. And we are seeing a good turnout of people as well here.
I'm happy. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't read the book, honestly, but I did read the initial part on Kindle.
Mm.
And it seems very intriguing, especially the two characters of Myra and Deepthi seem like a very interesting combination. So two different worlds that they inhabited.
Yeah.
So, very nice. Great. I'm just wondering if we should get started or we wait for another minute or two.
Let's just wait for 3-4 minutes.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are still joining. So,
Mm.
so you're in Gurgaon now?
Yeah. I live in Gurgaon.
Yeah, which part?
This is on Golf Course Road, opposite South Point Mall.
Ah, okay.
So which part of Gurgaon would you be moving into?
So we will probably be in the suburb of the suburb.
Okay.
Because it's almost Manesar, but the school, the location is driven by the school because my kids can walk to the school. So that's where the school is. So
okay.
Yeah. It's an area called Vatika India Next. So yeah. So we have people from many different parts of the country, I think. Some names are familiar here.
So just out of curiosity, this lady called Elora, is she from Kolkata?
Well, Elora will have to tell us. Elora, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Elora, are you from Kolkata?
Hi, no, I'm from Odisha.
Okay, okay. No, because I
could make out from your name that you hail from Kolkata, but yeah, I hail from Odisha.
No, but the reason why I asked is because long time ago, I mean, I knew someone who with the same name, so I was just wondering if it's she.
Yeah, we have a lot of Eloras from both the places.
Okay.
While we are waiting, and since we are talking about Kolkata and Orissa, you guys should read this.
Okay. Oh God, yeah.
I share this as an example of word choice. And I ask all people to fill in that blank at the end. Talk about what is an interesting word that can be used in that spot. So if any of you has a guess, do tell me what you think it should be. Get to it.
I can only think of lull, but
yeah, so could I.
But I'm reading it again just in case I missed any catch there. So
the goal is to use a non-cliched word, something that's unexpected, which will be.
Yeah, I thought so. So I'm reading it again.
So the word used by the author is, yeah, go ahead, Lakshmi. Did you have a point of view? You're on mute though. If it's one of my participants, you guys will know the answer. You're on mute still. We can't hear you, Lakshmi.
Yeah. Just to, contrast with Rabindra Sangeet, I would say as they rock themselves to sleep.
So you're close, but you're not exactly there because what the author uses is the bongs remorsefully listen to Rabindra Sangeet as they burp themselves to sleep. They're still eating the rasgullas. It's not like they give up on those.
Okay.
So anyway.
But the spelling of Orissa is not correct. So it's better you correct it before they start pounding on you for that.
What is the spelling of Orissa? It's not Orissa?
No, it's
no longer. It's no longer Orissa.
Oh, okay. I should change that then for sure. I'll check. But yeah, that was just while we were waiting. So we're 5 minutes in. So let's start the session. It's great to have you back, Kanchana. You've been with us once before, and but this is the first time you're coming into the book club, right?
That's right. First time, yeah.
Right. And we had talked about your that time you had come in for the FDC, and we talked about your experience as a writer and your experience. So this is your third book, and all your books have had a strong element of suspense and thrill and mystery. So is that how you identify as a writer, or is it just naturally those are the plots that are coming to you? How does it work?
So, I've always enjoyed reading thrillers, watching thrillers, reading mysteries, crime fiction, and watching movies and serials in the same genre. So after my first book was published, A Forgotten Affair, which is not a thriller, but it did have some nail-biting moments, some thrilling moments. So, at that time in HarperCollins, my editor was Arko-Pol Chaudhary, who is now a very dear friend. And, he nudged me towards thrillers. He, in fact, gifted me a big bunch of international best-selling books, some by Mary Kubica and some by others. And he said, Kanchana, I think you should tap into this because you have a natural flair for writing in a page-turning and a fast-paced, thrilling kind of a way. You have a knack towards that. So why don't you explore that side of your writing? So it was, and like, come to think of it, I often ask myself as to why I didn't think of this myself, because I've always enjoyed reading, mysteries, crime fiction, thrillers, etc. So then, I just kind of went down that path, and Nobody's Child happened, and after that, Eye on You, and the one that I've written after that. In fact, the one that I have fully written now was actually written before Eye on You. So so I have a completed manuscript with me, which I'm tweaking and changing, and basically, it's a much larger book. So during the process of the session, I'll tell you the genesis of how Eye on You happened. This was not supposed to be my third book. My third book was supposed to be a book which is called Shekhawati Thriller. That's a working title. That is not what I hope the final title will be, but let's refer that as Shekhawati Thriller. So I was writing that, and so I'll tell you later as to how that happened. So to answer your question, that I enjoy the thriller genre. I like the spine chilling, and I like the aspect of exploring the dark side of human nature and thinking about, why people commit crimes. I enjoy doing Google search about true crime and cold cases in different parts of the world, and seeing if a story can be, kind of born out of that. So that's it.
Okay, interesting. And we were talking about the characters of Myra and Deepthi. So they're evidently visible, and yet at the core, they have their own challenges. The conflict or the difference between the two characters very visible, but each has their own challenges because of the society that they're coming from. So how are these characters conceived and developed? And I think it's a very funky idea, the whole, the Eye on You, the mobile phone being misused idea. So how did you come up with these characters? Were they based on people you knew, or was it, half imagination and half role models? What was it?
Okay, so to answer this question, I'll go a little back and tell you how the story idea of Eye on You happened. So quite some time back, I think almost about a year or so back, I read an article in, I think, New Yorker or somewhere, I don't remember where, about a very strange incident which happened, I think, in the US, that a woman, a mother of two small kids, she discovered that, while her two bachas were alone in the room, or I think she had one kid. So the kid was talking to someone in an empty room. First, she thought that possibly, the kid is just chatting with himself or herself. And then one day she went in and saw that, that the child was sitting with his or her face towards the CCTV camera and was talking. So, and then she kind of questioned the child, and the child told her that someone is talking to her through the CCTV camera. Now, there are certain very high-end CCTV cameras which not only have a video facility, but it also has an audio facility. So, you know, I mean, someone can talk to you through the CCTV kind of output place. And then the woman, she investigated and she discovered that you know, someone had hacked into her home CCTV system, and this was, you know, installed, and you know, it was operated through a mobile app, which is usually the case. I also have a CCTV at home because, you know, like I have dogs at home and we travel a lot, so I want to just, you know, take a look at my dogs and I miss them. So which is why we kind of installed that. So, and then she discovered that a pedophile had hacked into her phone and hacked into the CCTV app and was chatting with her kids. So, you know, this is where the story sparked off in my head, that, you know, what if so, you know, we live in very smart homes, we have advanced technology, we have Alexa, then, you know, many of us have, I don't have it, but many people have, you know, an app controlled smart door, which is, you know, which can be closed and opened, you know, through a mobile app. So, you know, what would happen if someone hacked into the phone and got complete control of everything that the phone has? So, you know, that was the genesis of the idea. So, you know, and then, you know, like the character of Myra, she kind of came up, and, you know, a young, independent, single working woman who lives all by herself, you know, in a condo in Gurgaon, and she has a party at her place, and she's called friends over. And the next day she wakes up and she finds out that she has been sexually assaulted. And, you know, she's traumatized, she's terrified, because she called friends over. I mean, it's not like she went to a pub and she got roofied, you know. So like someone entered her home, her, you know, her, like, you know, like our home, our house is our most protected and most secured place that we can think of. If you're not safe at home, then you know, there is nothing more dangerous and scary than that. So, you know, that's how the story built up. And also to bring in the
Deepti character.
Yeah, I'll come to that. So, and also to bring into the social media bit. So, you know, I have been following a lot of men and women on Instagram who I don't know, but they are social media influencers and etc. And they, especially many of the women, they put up so many intimate pictures of their, you know, changing in the room, wearing, you know, very short and revealing dresses, and they are, you know, posting pictures by the minute in the elevator, in the bathroom, in the bedroom, in the balcony. So, you know, they are putting out so much of information out there for anybody and everybody to see. So, you know, that's how the story developed. So, you know, and then when I was writing, see, you know, as a writer, what happens, like the way I look at a story is that I believe that there is no original story idea left. All the original plots have been written, thanks to Mr. Jeffrey Archer, Sidney Sheldon, Mr. William Shakespeare, and the others. All the original story ideas have been written. So what is left for us is to tell the story in a different manner, and, you know, kind of play around with the narrative, play around with the structure, and make it more interesting. To explain what I mean, you know, this is one of my most favorite examples, which I often quote. If you analyze the basic story of Harry Potter, at the very base of it, it's nothing but the story of Oliver Twist or David Copperfield. There's an orphan boy, his parents are dead, he's living with a very unkind relative who doesn't care much for him, and there is some bad guy, and there are some bullies, some young bullies who are after his life, and he has one or two good friends who are rooting for him. So, but, you know, what is it about Harry Potter that has stunned the world all over? It's the setting. You know, she creates an alternate universe of wizardry and magic, and, you know, and all things dangerous, and she's just, you know, kind of taken us on a different journey altogether. So, you know, this is what I mean, that, you know, you will, chances are that you will not have an original story idea, but, you know, like that should not hinder you from being able to write a good story. You have to know how to pitch different characters. So I was thinking, how can I make the story of this woman who is a victim of cybercrime, because there are so many stories written on cybercrime. It's a oft-told story that there is some neighbor who kind of crashes on her and someone who. So how can I make it interesting without giving away the plot of the story? So I thought that why don't I make a character, like another woman character, who comes from a different walk of life, who has a different socioeconomic background, and and at Gurgaon you see a lot of this around. Like my husband and I, we've gone on long drives, we've gone on long cycling rides into the hinterland of Gurgaon, and in Gurgaon the coexistence of these two parallel worlds of the urban, educated, so-called polished apartments, and you just go a little off and you get into the rustic setting. So there are these two worlds that live in close proximity to each other, but they're very different from each other. And then and because of COVID and lockdown and etc., we have kind of gone out and seen cops here and there, and when you look at them, they are protecting us, they are protecting the roads, they're protecting the condominiums, etc., but they come from a very different socioeconomic background. So I thought it would be very interesting to juxtapose the educated, suave, sexy, rich, very highly educated woman like Myra, and kind of picture against a woman cop who's a little flabby, who's not very careful about her physical demeanor, and she kind of lives in very humble surroundings. She doesn't like there's no way in hell she would be able to afford the kind of car and the house that Myra and her boyfriend live in. And how would it be if they interacted? How would it be if they came together? But at the heart of it, women all over the world, irrespective of how educated they are or how less educated they are, some of their battles are the same. So, Deepti is also fighting pretty much the similar battles, at home and at her workplace.
Right. So your Hogwarts was Gurgaon.
Yeah.
So what was it like to try and write? Because I don't think your earlier books were set in Gurgaon.
No, that was Bombay. So, I had a, so like this one was written during lockdown.
Right.
During lockdown, as in not the full lockdown, but yeah, I mean, restricted movement lockdown. And I was missing, being able to go to, my favorite haunts, Whiskey Samba and Cafe Soul Garden, and Another Fine Day. And every time I would go, pass by and see one horizon, I used to feel, oh my God, this place used to be the heart and soul and the throb of Gurgaon, and the buildings, the commercial complex, they would be dazzling like diamonds, in the evening. And now when you see most of the offices have moved out, so like I used to really feel bad. So I thought it would be good fun to to kind of set the story in Gurgaon and write about the places that I have enjoyed hanging around in, and and the smog of Gurgaon, which really has affected me in a way, because not medically, but I'm a very outdoor person, so smelling the smog and being affected by the smog, being restricted by the smog, is something which is lodged in my head, in my psyche. So I just wanted to use that.
Interesting. And what about this whole pattern that you have for strong, independent women characters who lead your stories? It's Sagarika, then you have Asawari, then now Myra. Is that intentional, or is it just how the stories land up turning out?
So, if you look at it, actually, Myra is the only one who's out and out strong, independent character from the very beginning. And she is obviously severely traumatized and affected by the sexual abuse, by the sexual assault that happens in her own bedroom. And that leaves her very untethered. She's always been a very confident woman. And after the incident, she's scared of the underground basement parking, and she kind of breaks into a cold sweat. But if you compare her with, say, Asawari or with Sagarika, both Asawari and Sagarika are not strong and independent to begin with. They both are quite docile, very dependent, not their own person, but they come into their own. In both Asawari and Sagarika, they travel a journey to kind of find the inner strength, and which I think is very reflective of most women. There are a lot of women who are born strong, who have that power and assertiveness right from the very beginning. And some of them, in fact, I would say most of them, come into their own as they grow older. They become more sure of themselves, what they want in their relationships, and in their relationships with others as well as with themselves. So
okay, cool. And so when we're talking about out of all your books, this is the one that's closest to reality, in the sense that it could actually be a true story. It probably has fewer fantasy elements than your other books. So was that conscious, or was it just how the plot came about, or how did that evolve?
It's actually quite interesting that you mentioned this, but in Nobody's Child, the very basic storyline of Asawari being shunned by her husband because she gets a little tipsy in her honeymoon, during her honeymoon, and confesses to having had premarital sex, which she can't handle. That is something which I picked out from an Agony Aunt column, which I read years ago, like almost 20 years ago. So that is very much a real incident, that how much honesty can a relationship handle. And then also the character of Kamini Pratap and what she does to her daughter, and how she kind of rose from nothing to kind of the super rich status. That is also not a figment of my imagination. I mean, all of us know that her character is inspired by a very infamous woman that we've all know about. She's the wife of a media baron, and both she and her husband, are accused allegedly of killing her second daughter. And she sat in the car apparently while her daughter was being, killed, and in the front seat. So, none of my stories are actually, just out of my head. Of course, there's a lot of creativity and imagination which has gone into it. But then, they are rooted in our society. They are bits and pieces of the stories have been taken from incidents that have happened around us, from news articles, from news pieces, etc. And then, like the entire thing about the Indian Idol, this thing, Indian Koel, that music competition. So that is, reality TV and the things that happen during a reality TV to kind of spike the TRPs. Right. All these things happen. In fact, much more weird and bizarre things happen.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
In today's world, that's absolutely true. So the other question I had was you've been traditionally published for your first two books, and now you've chosen to self-publish this one. So was there something driving that? Why did you choose to not take the publishing?
So what happened was, as I told you, that this was not the book that I thought would be my third book. So I was writing my Shekhawati thriller, and then lockdown happened and blah blah blah. So all of us know what happened. So the thing is, what happened is that with the publishing industry, they got into a bit of a tight clinch, because they had accepted a lot of manuscripts before lockdown of March 2020. Right. And then the printing press shut down, the bookshops shut down, etc. So in fact, all the big reputed publishing houses, they kind of slowed down in their submissions and accepting of submissions, because they had to clear the existing backlog of books that they had already accepted. And then most of the bookshops haven't yet opened, so like the sales of books is essentially happening through Amazon, so it's very slow there. Right. So they said that that I would have to wait for at least 1.5 years for my for them to so kind of even initiate conversation about my next book. But HarperCollins, they like the Shekhawati thriller. And my editor, she told me again and again that, Kanchana, don't go ahead and self-publish this book. Keep this aside and self-publish something else. So, this Gurgaon thriller is something which I was, I on you, I used to first call it, the working title was Gurgaon thriller. So I had been on and off writing bits and parts of it when I was getting a little tired with Shekhawati thriller, because I was writing that for almost 1.5 years. So a little bit of it was written. So I decided that why don't I finish this? So this was I think in March this year. So I started writing it and I finished it, and I decided that, why don't I just self-publish it and see how it goes? Because, I have a lot of friends like Andali Vajid, Arjun Gand, and etc., who have kind of, self-published. So I thought, let me just try out this medium and see how it goes for me. So, so that's how IONU happened.
Very interesting. And how's your experience been so far as a published author? Has it really changed your life? What's new? What's different? When you've been writing for, of course, your entire career, I know. But being a published author as opposed to being a journalist are two different things, right?
Yeah, true.
Does it substantially change things?
So substantially, as in, I'm making a lot less money now than I was before.
That is a hard truth we all know. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but see, the thing is, yes, yes and no. The thing is, I feel very satisfied with where I am now, because I'm finally doing what I always wanted to do. That is, write stories and, become a published author. So I feel very satisfied. I feel I'm home. I finally reached where I wanted to go all these years, and my husband, he's testament to the fact that when I was writing for, bigger companies, making a lot more money, I was very unhappy, because, I constantly felt that, what I'm writing is not important enough. I'm just writing for the corporate communication department, and my work is not an important aspect in the company's nuts and bolts, because their finance, their marketing, their sales is much more important than taking out a website and kind of writing. Like, it doesn't really matter if the newsletter does not come out in time. It's of no big significance to anyone. Right. So I used to always feel very irritated, and I used to keep telling him that I don't like this. I'm doing this because I've been doing it for such a long time. But so like that is a huge change. I'm very happy. Of course, being an author, getting published and marketing your book does have its own challenges. I'm not denying that. It's not all hunky-dory and rosy. But the thing is that still at the end of the day, I'm finally doing what I always wanted to do. That is, write stories. So that way, I feel very satisfied. I feel very happy.
Yeah, but you said the M word, right?
Yeah.
Which is the marketing word.
Yeah.
The word that authors love and hate at the same time.
Yeah.
So I meet authors all over the place. Everybody does different things. The problem is that nobody knows what's working and nobody knows what's not working.
Yeah.
So what has worked? Has something worked for you? And if so, what? हमको secret sauce बताओ.
Yeah, I wish I knew. I wish there was a secret sauce which we could, bottle and sell and, and make some money out of it. But really, there is no secret sauce. I think the secret sauce is in writing a good book. Put all your efforts into that.
Yeah.
Because that is in your control, that is in your hand, and the rest of it, you have to reach out to a lot of people, various online communities like Himalayan Writing Retreat, Gurgaon Moms. These are the things that have really worked for me. Right. So kind of write relatable stories that people enjoy. And I think the most important thing is write what you like to read. Right. Because I say this in almost every session where people ask me about writing and stuff. I believe that you as a writer, you are your first reader. So if you are not enjoying what you are writing, nobody else will. So you have to enjoy what you write. So write what you enjoy, put your heart and soul into it, and then send it away, send it out in the world, and then just keep your fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really tough one, the whole marketing thing. So we are running a course on Kindle marketing that Neil De Silva, you probably know.
Yes, yeah.
And we actually had Arjun, and he was also talking to us about. So it seems to be an interesting pattern. Bhaskar did this just now. Yeah. Arjun has done this. You've done this, where after having been traditionally published, Bhaskar has like 12 books that he's traditionally published, and now he also went and published, on Kindle.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting how that's working out. Quite fascinating. I wonder why. I think it's probably because of the lockdown, because I can't think of another reason.
It is because of the lockdown, and the publishers are asking, are asking authors with new books to wait for a very long time, and you can't really blame them. See, because the thing is, their size of the list of publishing list, has shrunk in size, because if the bookshops are not all open, while I can talk only about thrillers. See, the thing is that the airports are back in business. People are traveling and but nobody's going and shopping at the airports. And thrillers, like the airport bookstores are the biggest point of sales for for thrillers, because thrillers usually people pick up on their way to a like just before boarding a flight, and they want to read it during a flight, etc. So these kind of purchases are not happening. So Amazon and online, of course, I'm no authority on this, and I think publishing house person, but this is my understanding. So as a result, publishing houses are accepting less number of books. So like the authors don't want to keep waiting for a year to whatever. They they want to put their books out. Right. And KDP just happens to be a great platform there. Now this does not mean that traditional publishing is going to go out of fashion. That will never happen. That will never happen. But KDP will see a lot more traffic because of this. Many more writers and authors will put their books out.
Sorry, I got a second late to hit the mute button. So excuse me for that. But yeah, we were actually on another Zoom session with Sayantan from Simon & Schuster just yesterday. He was telling us how busy they are and how crazy it's been. But the lockdown has definitely had a hard impact on them. But there's an interesting thing that's also happening now, which I don't know if you're aware of this, but you should definitely check it out. Is that a lot of these self-publishing companies like Notion Press and Pothi, earlier it was that you had to go and you had to pay them this boatload of money and then they would publish your book. Now, a lot of them have a POD option available.
Yes, I know. I've checked that out. In fact, I'm planning to do a POD with this thing, like for my Eye on You.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I saw on Amazon, it seemed to be only a Kindle version.
Yeah, it's only a Kindle version. Yeah. I just see the book is only about 15-20 days old on on Amazon. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of give it some time, but that is definitely on the cards. So I will be.
Yeah, because in this book club also, we have a membership, and we've asked people when they fill out the form, how many people are okay with ebooks and how many people are okay with print books. And it's about 60-40.
Yeah.
So you're leaving out effectively half your readership if you have an only Kindle version in India, maybe even more, because in the book club, because you're getting it free, some people might be willing to make the compromise. But if you have to go out and buy it, even though it's a tad cheaper. So I'm glad that and you've checked it out. I just thought I should mention.
So someone here asked a question. POD is print on demand.
Yeah, sorry, we're guilty there. Print on demand is a new concept where instead of going and paying upfront and saying, okay, you give me 300 books and you give me this package and that package. Now, a lot of the self-publishing companies have a free suite of publishing tools that are on their website. I think Notion Press calls it Notion Express or something like that. Yeah. There's no support. You have to do all the work yourself, but there's also no cost. And if your book sells, every time they get an order for the book, they will fulfill it. And there'll be a revenue share, which is more favorable than a traditional publisher. Of course, the problem is that there is no distribution. That's always the problem with self-publishing, is that there's no, like talking about like the Relay store or the WH Smith at the airport, those things are not existing.
Yeah, so your book can be bought. I mean, your paperback book can be bought only from Amazon and Flipkart.
Yeah, which is obviously a very big loss, and that's one of the reasons why the traditional publishers will always stay around. But yeah, all right, great. Well, it's been great. We'll open it up to questions from the members now. If anybody has questions, anything that maybe if you've read the book or been through halfway through the book and you want to ask Kanchana something, now would be a great time.
Hi everybody. Can I?
No, please.
More than a question, it's actually I just wanted to make one or two comments. One is like Chetan said, Inspector Deepthi is a very, very interesting personality. And especially since you've juxtaposed her with the, you know, entitled and absolutely top cream de la cream sort of person. And then what I got, apart from the thriller part, which I enjoyed very much, what I also enjoyed was the way they are judging each other. You know, like it always happens, like these smart people will say bhenji and the bhenjis will say over smart. And so I simply enjoyed it. And it's, you know, though your basic book is a thriller, it's also a social commentary, which I enjoyed very much, Kanchana. And I strongly suggest, if you're going to make a series of books, please keep Inspector Deepthi as a, you know, standard fixture kind. Like she should come in somewhere or the other. She's a brilliant you know. And how I'm imagining her is, I don't know if you see this show called Superstore or something on Comedy Central.
Okay, no, I haven't watched it.
There is this security lady. She's fat, and you know, I immediately I picture. I'll send you a picture or something of her.
Okay, great.
Immediately I pictured her like that.
I will keep this in mind, because my next book, not Shekhawati thriller, the one after that I'm writing, that will also probably be based on Gurgaon. You know, the setting will be Gurgaon.
Yeah.
And I'm you know, and I'm going to consider keeping you know, Deepthi Beniwal as the investigating officer.
She,
so
yeah, she is very promising, I feel, as a reader.
Okay, great.
And
lovely.
The second thing was, I was patting myself on my back because I did guess who the perpetrator was.
Okay.
So, but I loved the way how you revealed it. You know, it was very, very you know, insidious kind of thing. It was very good writing, very good writing.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it like anything. And one more thing is the way you brought in the smog. This is, you know, first I thought, oh, why is she writing about masks? We are not talking about COVID. And then it came, I mean, it was revealed that the smog is there.
Yeah.
I mean, we've forgotten all about the smog because of COVID, but it was such a real thing. And, you know, eyes smarting and everything. So you've made Gurgaon a very living, breathing kind of character. Also, the smog is also a character, I would say. And because we live in Gurgaon, of course, I could relate to it very well. So all in all, it was very enjoyable. And I don't think I have any questions at present, but I wanted to comment all these.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Thanks.
So the next question, Namrata has put one in the chat. How do you decide on the titles? They're very unique and complement the theme of the books.
Okay. Now, I have to be honest here. I can't think of titles at all. In fact, the three books that I have written and published, they had the most horrendous working title. And so
Gurgaon thriller sounds terrible. I can tell you that much.
So A Forgotten Affair was, it, you know, was called The Accident. I mean, how unimaginative can it be? So in my contract, it is written, you know, like the contract is with you know, with that title, and the full credit for you know, kind of deciding on A Forgotten Affair goes to Karthika, who was at that time the helm of at the helm of affairs in HarperCollins. Then Nobody's Child, again, Nobody's Child was for the longest time called a Savary story, that I just couldn't come up with anything else. And then again, my editor Swati at HarperCollins, she said that why don't we call it? So first we decided that I Am Nobody's Child, because, you know, that is the name of the book which Avnil writes. So, and then she said, no, let's make it shorter, because this is too long to go on the cover of the book. Let's just make it Nobody's Child. Then Eye on You, as I revealed a little while, called Gurgaon thriller for the longest time. And then when, you know, it, so I'd hired you know, a professional editor to kind of, you know, help me with the editing, and a professional book designer. So, you know, then me and my friends, we sat down and we were kind of, I'm so sorry, we were, I'm so sorry. So we were kind of, deciding on how, like, what name should we give? What name should we give to the book? Like you're being tracked, you're being followed. So, the person has eyes on you. How do you do it? So that's how I On You has come up. So now I'm struggling with Shekhawati Thriller. Shekhawati Thriller is again, called Shekhawati Thriller now. So so I'm hoping I'll come up with something better. So I'm very bad with titles. Had it not been for some of my friends and my editor, I don't think I would be able to come up with anything remotely nice.
So that's an interesting set of insights. I never realized that editors will also help you with that, but that's very good to know. We have a couple of questions, but they seem to relate to the use of poetry. Do you have anything to do with poetry?
No, I don't have any poetry.
And we'll ignore those questions. In our, maybe another session would be a better one to talk about poetry. But the quick answer is you don't have to use complex words. You can use simple words. Not that I'm an expert, but you should Google this guy. I'll put his name in the chat. His name is Leonard Cohen, and you'll see that his poetry is very, very simple. There isn't a single complex word there. And it's also very, very beautiful. All right, great. So any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on. Nope. All right, cool. So I think we're done then. It's been fabulous having this conversation again. And next time you're in the neck of the woods, our neck of the woods, you must come and visit us.
Most certainly.
Come to the Himalayan Writing Retreat. You were very close last time. You were like a kilometer.
I know. And, I feel like kicking myself because I got to know about you and your place just the evening before we were leaving, and we will, and because it's a long journey from Sitla. So, my husband and my son, they didn't want to delay at all. They said, we must leave quickly. So we kind of, left in a bit of we kind of wanted to, we made a very early start. So, but I was so close. Yeah, but yeah, we do plan on, going to Sitla again, maybe someday. It's such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
So I'll most certainly visit you then. Yeah.
You can even stay with us, but we're not Sitla. All right. Well, it's wonderful having you. And thank you everyone for taking the time and coming and chatting with Kanchana and Namrata and me. And finish the book, write a very nice review. And not just because of anything else, but except that it's actually a very nice book. So do that, and we'll catch up again next time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and do read my books because that's the best way to support an author. And we authors need all the support that we can kind of gather. So please do read our books, and you don't have to you don't have to. Please don't feel compelled to say good things. If you don't like the book, that's fine. That's totally fine. Every reader has their own. Everyone is entitled to their point of view, and that's absolutely fine. So please do buy and read our books, and let me know what you think of them. And thank you for having me over. Thank you, Chetan. Thank you, Namrata. Thanks, Lakshmi, and everyone else. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.